Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you a bit about my journey with performance anxiety, as well as 3 tips on how I've been dealing with it. Now before we begin, it's important to note that even as a semi-professional musician, I'm still struggling with performance anxiety and learning new ways to deal with it. I think something that I've come to peace with over the years is that my performance anxiety will probably never go away. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So I would actually categorize my anxiety as somewhat crippling and failure inducing. And I know that sounds extreme, but I'll share a few examples with you in a second. My performance anxiety actually comes in 2 waves, and the first wave arrives about 30 to 40 minutes before my actual performance. And this is somewhat personal, kind of TMI, but I get a really bad stomach ache, and I think it's just the nerves and all of that kind of just processing, and yeah. And the second wave actually happens as I'm walking on stage and I'm beginning to play my first notes, and boom, it happens. I'm instantly flushed with severe thoughts of doubt, and you can imagine how crippling this becomes, especially when I have to play from memory. I begin to doubt everything, absolutely everything. I doubt my ability to play as a musician. I doubt my ability to retain memory. I doubt my ability to play in tune, anything. Just imagine that your worst critic is living in your head, critiquing you nonstop as you're playing 100 miles per hour. That's what it feels like. Now, that kind of sets off a physical wave of anxiety. This usually comes in the form of shaky left and right hands, shaky legs, shaky knees. You see what I mean when I say it's crippling? Not only is my anxiety driving a loss of control in my hands, but also in my head. Here's a story I promised in the beginning. So my junior year at UCLA, I participated in a school competition, and I had to play the complete Mozart No. 3 concerto from memory, obviously. And I remember knowing that I had this habit of, getting nervous and it kind of ruining things for me. So I tried to pump myself up with positive thoughts. My teachers and other people who have heard me play always praise me on the way I play Mozart, like, oh, your style and all that, compliments. And I tried to really channel that. And I felt really excited and eager to crush the competition. But the waves of anxiety still came knocking, still came to, bring me down. And, without going into detail, it happened. My performance was really bad. It almost felt like a 13-year-old version of me, where I didn't know how to play Mozart and it wasn't light and buoyant as I knew I could play it. And instantly I knew that my anxiety failed me, because not only because I didn't win the competition, but also because I had teachers and other faculty members coming up to me saying, what happened out there? And that's when you know that your best version of yourself, or even your most frequent version of your playing self, cannot exist in the face of anxiety. So that's all kind of sad, and it was truly a wake-up call moment for me. And I knew I had to do something about it. And I had to work on my performance anxiety in a way that I knew would work for me. Because trust me, I've tried out every single possible method. I've tried out Alexander technique, I've tried out deep breathing, I've tried out like focusing on your big toe while you're performing, or focusing on your heartbeat. I've tried doing positive affirmations and telling myself,
oh, it's not about you, it's about the music. Just go out there and have fun.
But if I'm being 100% honest, none of those things work for me. If you're like me and you know that lying to yourself or repeating these positive affirmations just isn't it to break that cycle of performance anxiety, here are 3 tips that might work for you. Tip number 1 is to accept that no matter how much you prepare, you will always feel uncomfortable on stage, and you will always feel like you could have prepared more. Now, I'm a bit hesitant to label this as a tip, because it is a little bit counterproductive, but this is just an honest evaluation of me and something I know that has helped me, and it might help you too. I think on my journey to understanding my performance anxiety, I always compared myself to the way my colleagues approached anxiety. They would say things like,
"But performing is so fun, and I'm so excited to perform."
and while those may be true for them, it's not exactly how I view performing. When I perform, it is truly a high pressure environment. Now don't get me wrong, of course, when I feel good about the way I play a piece, I am so excited to show off my work. But at the end of the day, a performance is still a culmination of my practice sessions, and it's a way to prove myself to the audience and sometimes to my colleagues. Okay, and maybe that's not such a healthy way to view performing, and maybe not the greatest thing that a musician should do, but hey, that's just the way I think, and a big part of overcoming some of my anxiety is to realize that it is what it is, and that's just the way I function. We're all different, and if saying positive affirmations works for you, that's actually truly awesome and really jealous of you. But you know, strangely, this kind of method of accepting that I'm not like them has been comforting in a way. Tip number 2, deep breathing before you play in front of other people. I've noticed that my performance anxiety is deeply rooted in the fear of both messing up and doing it in front of others. In other words, I give way too many shits about what other people think about me. Knowing myself, it's hard to get rid of that thought by simply telling myself to do the opposite.
No one cares. Just do it for yourself. Do it for the music.
And those kind of thoughts just don't work. It's counterproductive. It makes me even more pressured. So I try to stay away from those thoughts. So I've had to think of something else. And I thought, what if I tried doing something physical and visible where I have kind of a zero chance of messing up? And that's when I came up with this method of deep breathing in front of other people. Now the catch is to truly do it in front of other people. So I do this backstage right before I perform, and my pianist might be around, or stage crew, chamber music friends, whatever. And I'll just stand there, I'll close my eyes, and I'll try it again in about 7 to 10 deep breaths. And the whole point is to do it in public and to focus on eliminating distractions. And me being very concerned about what other people think about me, my goal is to not think about the fact that these people might be staring at me while I'm doing this or whatever. I try to eliminate it and really just try to get in good breaths and feel at peace with the fact that they're watching me. Now, this is only effective if you're able to mentally eliminate the distractions. So don't go to a bathroom or hide in a closet. Just try it out. I'm hoping that over time, this strategy will be transcribed to a stage where I'm able to eliminate the fact that there's a live audience watching me, but we're not quite there yet. Now, tip number 3 is to indicate either on your score or just to identify moments in your music that you look forward to and love. I used to have this whole unrealistic expectation that every single note I play has to be completely immaculate. But do you know how difficult and insane it is to expect someone or even yourself to score 100% on an academic test? I personally have never held myself to that expectation. So why exactly do we do it in music? The moment I shifted my focus from the journey throughout the piece to instead the journey between climaxes in a piece, my pressure slightly diminished. So instead of having just one goal, which is to play from beginning to end perfectly, I have so many checkpoints within that piece and many more chances to get a good setup and delivery, or even just a chance to retry the same climax if there are repeats. Alright, so far I've shared 3 tips that have helped me in my journey with performance anxiety. But since you made it this far, I'm going to share one more honest tip. Now, I have severely debated whether or not I want to talk about this just because it's not frequently brought up in the music world, and I know there's a bit of a negative stigma around it, but I just want to be extremely honest and transparent with you all. After that Mozart competition experience, I felt like a really big fear and dread for the year that was coming up, which was my grad school auditions. And grad school auditions last from 10 to, I think my longest one was about 20 minutes. And in that time, you have to be your 100%. In my head, I was already running through those 10 minutes. What if my nerves kick in and I just bomb my audition and that costs me my acceptance? And that was extremely terrifying to think about. And so I went to the doctor and I asked for a prescription for beta blockers. So for those of you who aren't familiar, beta blockers are a type of medicine that is used to kind of regulate abnormally fast heart rate. And I think people who have blood pressure issues take it as well. And as a result, it may be effective in like either temporarily stopping or reducing that flight or fight mode. And I actually used beta blockers at every single one of my grad auditions. I just couldn't bear testing my ability to control my performance anxiety because the cost was too high. I don't know if I could have forgiven myself if I got rejected to a school or schools just because the nerves got the best of me. People don't talk about this as much in the music world, and I think my understanding is that some people think it's like cheating or inauthentic, but I personally don't view it in any kind of negative light. No musician is any less of a musician for taking a beta blocker. Perhaps a misconception I think people have is that it enhances your ability to play and perform like a steroid, but I'm here to tell you that it doesn't do any of that. I mean, I don't sound like High Fitz, I don't sound like Hilary Hahn. I just sound and play like Joyce without nerves. Yeah, with that being said, I don't take it all the time. I only take it when I'm in an extremely high pressure environment where I know I'm being judged in a short time frame. So things like auditions or competitions. Now, because I don't rely on beta blockers all the time, I am constantly on the hunt for new ways to redirect my performance anxiety to a more productive energy. So if you want to hear more about my journey, be sure to subscribe and to hit that notification bell, because in the next video, I am sharing with you all a new project that I'm embarking on, and I'm really excited because it's going to target self-confidence as a musician and how to practice performing, and I think you're going to want to get on it too. In the meantime, if you're interested in more violin motivation and organizational videos, be sure to check out these two videos, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate you all. Bye!